Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for inspired conversations with publisher Linda Joy. On Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Welcome to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy, publisher of Aspire Magazine, Intentional Living Guide, Mindset Mojo mentor, and a woman on a mission to inspire you to live your best life. And how do I do that? Whether it's publishing Aspire Magazine for the last 16 years or bringing you these sacred, inspiring conversations on the radio show, I can guarantee you that you're circling up with this beautiful circle of women who are following their joy, following their bliss, following their vision for an intentional life. And with me today is Kathleen Guthrie Woods. She's the author of The Mother of All Dilemmas, Dreams of Motherhood in the Internship That Changed Everything, a memoir with a message that was featured in Aspire magazines. I'm so happy about this, top 10 inspiring book list. She also writes the 52 Nudges blog, for which she takes weekly risks to push her out of her sometimes too comfortable nest. Welcome.
Oh, thank you, Linda. What a pleasure to be here with you.
It's such I love synchronicities. We met through a mutual friend who I have so much love and respect for. And then when she told me about you, I'm like, oh yes, how many women are struggling with this decision? Mm-hmm. So what inspired you to write your memoir with the message of the mother of all dilemmas?
Well, to be quite honest, I did not set out to write a book. I had the intention of answering my own questions. And the premise, what set it up, is I was coming up to 40 and perpetually single. And I thought, you know what, if I am going to have kids, which was my dream, my expectation of everything that my life, the second half of my life would be, how am I going to do this by myself? And I started journaling. I was journaling, asking myself, what are the right questions I need to be asking myself? Can I do this? And then it morphed into, I really want to do this. What happened is I had an opportunity to try some of it out. We'll get to that. And I started sharing what I was learning and exploring. And next thing you know, I'm writing about it and I'm telling my stories. And this book just started to come together. The second half of the book, which went even deeper, is then I started asking myself the question of, why is it that my whole early life, I understood that I was led to believe that my only value was becoming a mother. And what does that mean to me? And sort of exploring that, and then asking the questions of, who am I? What is my value? Maybe I'm enough just as I am. And that's where the whole thing sort of that's the message half of there's the memoir, there's the message half of exploring that and literally just answering those questions for myself. And then I felt very strongly pulled to, you know what, I can help other women through this journey. And that's where the book came from.
It's so beautiful and personal too, right? But I'm really curious about the part of this title that says, in the internship that changed everything, right? I'm like, I got to know about this. So tell us about that.
Well, so what's funny is that as I was asking these questions, can I be a single mother? Like, physically, emotionally, can I afford to do this? Do I need to make changes in my career? Do I need to move? What are all the things that I need to have in place to do this successfully? And, and prepare for any possible thing to go wrong. Hopefully, you're optimistic, but you still have to be realistic about it. And I started joking, gosh, I wish I could get an internship and just try this out. Ha ha ha. Wouldn't that be great? I could be a single mommy intern. And in the middle of this, my sister called me, and she and her then partner, now wife, were planning a big trip to Europe, and realized that traveling with a 15-month-old toddler was probably not their best choice. And she said, what would you think of coming up and staying with them for a couple of weeks and babysitting for a couple of weeks? And it was like, Linda, it was like neon lights went off. This is it. This is your internship. Go do this. You're going to go have an internship taking care of a toddler as a single working mother. And that's what I did. And I took that journal with me and I wrote down every day, even though I was exhausted out of my mind, I would take notes of what I experienced, what I felt, what I learned, more questions that I was going to need to answer for myself when I got home. And I got to try it out.
Now, what I'm giggling inside is you asked, and the divine brought it to you. What an opportunity at the time that you needed it. That's the thing.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And and 100% believe that. I am so, we're so in tune with that one, because to me, it was funny, ha, ha, ha. And you know what? You ask the universe and you put your intention behind it. And boy, the universe delivers in ways that you can't even begin to imagine. And this is a perfect example of that happening in my life and everything that has flowed from that.
Well, everything of how I live my life is about intention, manifesting, sacred presence. So as you're sharing the story, I'm like, oh boy, she asked and look what she got. So it's beautiful. So what unfolded for you internally and personally through that experience?
Oh, wow. It was I would say initially, so I'm excited. I'm getting ready to go on this great adventure where I fully believe that all my questions would be answered. All would be made clear. And as I got closer to it, there were so many fears, honestly, of one, am I going to just screw this up? And am I going to hurt this little kid in the process? Am I going to damage him for life? I mean, get a little over dramatic. But then there was the overhanging fear of, what if I don't get the answers I think I want? And what if I go through this experience and decide, you know what? I really don't want to be a mom. And I had built so much of my life around the expectation of this is who I was supposed to be. The type of work had flexibility so that I had the ability to be a stay-at-home mother and be with my kids and still make a living. Where I lived, I chose where I lived based on this life that I expected to grow into. And what if I got through this internship and realized, nope, and I have to start from scratch? I have to create a whole new life plan from a blank page. And it was crippling at times. Like, I can't do this. And yet something that I have come to understand in a very deep way is that women of our day and age are constantly called upon themselves to reinvent themselves. And we have all these phases and stages of doors opening, doors closing, whether it's, someone who has just sent her last child off into the world and suddenly is an empty nester. What does she do next? Changing careers, losing a career, all these different stages in life, maybe having a health issue, and suddenly you have to reinvent who you are and embrace the void and embrace what is presented to you as opportunities. And so internally working through all of that in the process, and I would say, yes, in some ways I figured out my plan B, C, D, whatever plan I was on when I got through this, because no spoiler alert, I do not have children, and made that choice in the process of this experience, the right choice for me ultimately to embrace the life that I have been given. And I would say maybe the biggest lesson that I figured out for myself is that it's less about following the plan and more about staying open, because we never know what's coming. And that to me is kind of exciting. That anything is possible. So, okay, universe, what you got?
Exactly. And what I hear about your message is, I love what you said, the right choice for me. It was like an inner knowing after you went through that experience and internship.
Yep.
And as you were journaling and writing all those notes for the weeks you had the little one, was there any presence in your mind that this was going to become a book, or was it just you sharing your journey and your truth for clarity?
It was for clarity for me. I think at the time I was journaling, and it's funny because I recently found that journal and I was looking at some of the notes, and on the first page I wrote, "Be bold, Kath." And I love that. I love that I was encouraging myself from the onset. At the time of the internship, because I was so focused on taking care of him and I felt like I was just absorbing information. So I really was just taking notes about, okay, this is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm learning. This is what, oh, look at that. Never thought about that. This is something I need to research more. It really was fact finding at that point. I didn't have the energy to process it. And I fully had the anticipation that once I got back home and got some rest and got some perspective, I could then look at the big picture of it all. And unfortunately or fortunately, there wasn't the easy answer when I got home. Then the real introspection began as I started exploring, why did I take this path? What is it that I really want? Who am I? That's when that process started.
Yeah, such deep questions.
Yeah.
We're going to take our first break, Kathleen, and we'll be back in a moment. And when we do, I want to come back about how you made peace with being childless, and how you had to wrestle with your faith. So we'll be back in a moment. I'm with Kathleen Guthrie Woods. You can learn more at Kathleen-Inc.com. We'll be right back, my friends.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Inspiration for a Woman's Soul. Aspire Magazine, inspiring and supporting women on the path of self-discovery. Claim your free digital subscription today, which includes access to thousands of dollars of personal development bonus gifts from Team Inspiration partners. Claim your Aspire Magazine subscription today at subscribetoaspire.com.
Hey America, we need to have a little talk. We've got more food than we know what to do with in this country, yet 17 million kids in America are struggling with hunger. Makes no sense. Luckily, the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks has volunteers gathering excess food and getting it to hungry kids. They're kind of like food angels. Hey, become a food angel yourself by supporting Feeding America in your local food bank at feedingamerica.org. We can't do it without your help. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
Hi everyone, this is Shay Parker, the host of Best of the Best, which airs live right here on IOM Radio every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific. I'm super excited to bring you expert guest hosts, spiritual discussions, free psychic readings, and so much more. I can promise that you will not want to miss this one-of-a-kind, fun, yet touching, down-to-earth show. Join us every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific on OTR-FM. This is Shay Parker, and I can't wait to see you there.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Hi, you're listening to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy, and with me today is Kathleen Guthrie Woods, author of The Mother of All Dilemmas. So your story is about making peace with being childless, but in your book you also talk about wrestling with your faith. What did that look like for you?
You know, I grew up in Church of Religious Science, which was just a beautiful way to be raised with an openness and appreciation of cultures and religions and beliefs, and which I feel very fortunate about. As an adult, I ended up in more of a traditional Presbyterian church. Again, very progressive, open-minded, lovely. The challenge I wrestled with is I felt like I had done everything right. I had been such a good girl and such a good human. And I had this sense that God wasn't giving me what I deserved, if that makes sense. But even worse than that, I felt like that I had done something wrong and somehow made myself undeserving of getting what I had so desperately wanted, which was to be married and create a family. And it oh man, it just rocked me to my core. I can't tell you how many prayers and pleadings and why God, why me, why not me, why am I not getting this? And I really struggled to make sense of it. And along the way, as I was going through this, I reached out. I have several friends who are pastors, and I reached out to several people of like, how do I wrestle with this? I don't understand this. Why isn't God answering my prayers? I suppose is the short answer. And, again, so many of, in talking to other women of their experience with religion in this is that there is an expectation, we hear it in marriage vows, you will bring children into the faith. And it's this extra pressure, dang it. And unfortunately, the first few people I talked to said, well, it's just God's will. And I thought, oh man, it just doesn't feel right, because then that, again, it felt like to me in that time of just dark struggle and sadness and isolation that I felt like I was being punished by God. And that is not the God that I know. And finally, I made my way to a friend named Lynn, who is a now retired Presbyterian pastor. And I interviewed her. Her interview is in the book, or excerpts from that. And she put it in a way that just really resonated with me. One was that, so many of the Bible stories that we hear about Hannah, and the women who are faithful and are finally rewarded with that late in life pregnancy and ultimately a son, of course, because that's what was revered. And that the stories, that there was deeper meaning to that. And it wasn't just, as she said, prescriptive. And she said to me, the way she talks to the women about this, whether they've lost children through miscarriage or whatever, was that it's less about God up in the heavens doling out punishment and reward. She said the promise that God makes to us is that he, she, however you want to call it, the promise is, I will walk with you. And I honestly, in that moment, I get goosebumps just thinking back to that phone call, Linda, because it just brought me such peace of, okay, this is the God I know. This is the God who is with me, who walks beside me, who carries my burdens with me. And that just shifted everything for me. So there's the faith element of it. You asked also, remind me, the second part of your question was...
Well, what were some of the struggles and how did you address them, which you really, I think you just spoke to. But your story for me is, building that relationship, and this is for all our listeners, with whatever you may call your highest source.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? And that's that. And yes, everything you were feeling, I know I've experienced at dark times in my life. Like, are you kidding me? What else? And I enter my 59th year.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Thanks. In October, right? And I am at such a peaceful place with my relationship with the divine, even when life isn't going well. And in those moments that I feel that feeling, I look back at my life remembering how disconnected I was, or feeling alone. And it's such a peaceful place, but I'm sharing that because I feel that peace within you.
Yeah. Yeah. It took me a while to find it, to really find it and own it.
And we all have our moments. I mean, all my listeners know, in less than 2 years, my honey got diagnosed with 2 brain-related diagnoses within 48 hours apart. A pituitary tumor, which was very large, caused him to lose his sight. That's how we found it.
Oh, wow.
And then when they were about to make a decision on that, they found a brain aneurysm that was hiding.
Oh my goodness.
But we looked at it as a blessing, Kathleen,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yep.
So because I have a large following, people were sending love and support. But in the midst of that, COVID hit, so we could never have his second surgery. So,
I'm sorry to laugh, but isn't this whole experience absurd? I know what.
Yeah, and he came out of the first one, November of 2019. It was amazing how they were able to remove that large tumor.
Wow.
And the reason I'm sharing this is, as I was sharing my Facebook post, I used the hashtag seeing the blessings, or see the blessings. I interact. People were like, how are you in such peace? We were in the middle of building a home, Kathleen. He's the contractor, he's the builder, and now we suddenly couldn't see. We were weeks away from moving in. We were living in a 400 square foot house. Believe me, I had every reason not to trust, to spiral, to.
Yeah.
And my posts were always about, you know what, even on dark days, I look for the light. And so him and I would focus on the blessings.
Yeah.
Well, I can't believe, just like I know your book is going to inspire, how much those Facebook posts reminded people that, listen, life happens. We get to choose how we show up.
Yes.
And that, I got to tell you, I mean, some of the posts would get 235 comments. And some people say, can I share this? My sister-in-law just got diagnosed with cancer. Can I share this? My friend went through a divorce. And I'm like, what the heck are they sharing? And it was the message that you can still have love, trust, and have inner peace in the midst of chaos.
Yes.
And that's what
100%.
I'm hearing from your journey and story is you have found that, it isn't like, well, if this is happening, I've been abandoned. No, it's, this is happening, so I'm putting my trust there.
Yep.
And it's been a beautiful spiritual lesson. I've been on the spiritual path 30 years. And so I look back, and that's why I love having conversations like this, because I want women who are listening right now who may be struggling with the same questions you were asking yourself, with the same questions I've asked myself, that it's okay to ask those questions. It's okay to feel those feelings. Just keep going and listening to your heart and your soul until you can come back into peace with whatever your divine source is.
Yep. And I would say, you say it's okay to ask these questions, it's okay for those. I would actually take it a little bit further and say it's important to ask yourself these questions.
Yes.
And it's important to feel these things. There's so much. So I did a lot of writing as this book was in development in the childless community. There's a global community of women writing in the childless realm. And one of the things that's so important is that processing the grief to get to the other side of it. And that's much of my journey as well, of looking at what I felt I had lost and grieving it, and then opening myself up to moving forward. And as you said, you see the blessings along the way and the people you meet who encourage and inspire you and help you get to your next level. And in turn, you feel this calling to pay it forward and lift up others. I mean, it's just this incredible cycle of love, and you get to be a part of that. And that, I mean, I look at the experiences I've been able to have because of where this journey took me that I would not have had otherwise. And that's what, in your words, I 100% choose to embrace this different life path that I was given. It's a gift in its own way.
It is a gift. And one of the other things that you just said too is that really resonated is we get to choose how we view something, right?
Yeah.
So we can weigh ourselves down by choosing self-judgment, comparison and all that. And believe me, I did that for 35 years. I was very good at it too. And And finally I said, gee, this can't be what life is.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there's a deeper relationship in my relationships, in everything, since I choose love. And what you were just describing about love and inspiring others, and that's your journey, I kept hearing the words, she's leaving a legacy of love.
Oh, wow. Okay. I just got goosebumps. Thank you.
You're welcome. And so some believe that they have to have a child to leave a legacy.
Yeah.
Some people believe they have to have money to leave a legacy.
Yeah.
I see the purity of, no, we and you are here to just leave a legacy of love. And that's what you're doing. And that's what the divine was trying to guide you through during your dark days, is like, you are love. You can still be love. You can still make a difference in the world. And that's what you're doing. And I'm so glad the words resonate. I just had to say that.
They did. Like, thank you. Thank you. You know, it's so interesting because there is, as I mentioned, this global community of writers in the childless environment. There have been a lot of discussions recently about what is our legacy. And someone brought up, and I'm sorry, I don't remember who said it because I would love to quote her, but you know, we have this feeling that we need to do capital L legacy. That's what we need to do. We need to do something big. And the amazing thing that we're coming to learn is that our legacy can mean a lot of different things. Just being who we are is our legacy. And what I love about what you just said, leaving a legacy of love, every single person on this planet is able to do that.
Exactly.
You know, you don't have to be a superstar. You don't have to be, you know, running the nonprofit that's going to save the world. That's how we all kind of think that legacy is supposed to look like. And yet, what a bigger impact and all the ripples we can have by leaving a legacy of love. Oh my gosh, I'm all excited. Thank you.
I can see, there's a hint for your next blog post, my friend.
I know. I'm going to think on that. Thank you.
You're welcome. And we're going to take another break, Kathleen, and we'll be back in a moment. When we come back, I want to talk about, because although your book's written for women who are childless, not by choice, I understand it has resonated with other women, including women who are mothers. So let's talk about that when we come back from our break. And we'll be right back. I'm with Kathleen Guthrie Woods of Kathleen-Inc.com. We'll be back in a moment.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Are you ready to design your best life by living from your yes, instead of allowing your fears and self-doubts to run the show? It's possible when you tap into and live from your inner wisdom. As an intuitive transformational life coach, Dr. Lisa Thompson merges her background as a scientist with her intuitive gifts to support and empower women just like you to embrace self-love, trust their intuition, and gracefully move forward through their fears so they can intentionally design their best life. Along with offering a variety of programs and eco-spiritual retreats, Dr. Lisa intuitively customizes her private client experiences using one or a combination of healing modalities, including past life regression, human design, and more. It's time to say yes to living your best life. Learn more at drlisajthompson.com.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
This is Terry Van Horn, and I want to invite you to join me for my weekly radio show, Healing Light, on OMTimes Radio every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Healing Light, we want to bring love, light, and blessings into your world. You can find out more about us at www.healinglightonline.com. Blessings.
Me, a cat, moving in with a new human. It took a little getting used to. She has these weird games she likes to play, like this giant feather. She sticks it in my face. I swat it away. She sticks it in my face. I swat it away. It's almost like she thinks I enjoy it. But seeing how much fun she gets out of it, well, I guess it makes it all worth it. Humans.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
This is OTR FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Hi, you're listening to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy, and today we're talking with Kathleen Guthrie Woods, the author of The Mother of All Dilemmas. So, Kathleen, even though your book is written for women who are childless, not by choice, it has resonated with so many other women, including women who are mothers.
Yeah.
What have they been sharing with you?
I have to tell you, it's so fun. I've had so many goosebumps in the last couple of months. It's been really fun. You know what? I think it resonates to women is how often we suffer in isolation, and how we just, that breaks my heart. And what happens when they read a book like mine is that it hits on all the points of, dealing with big life changes. How do you approach a big life change, whatever it is? And that part of that is grieving the losses that are inherent with change in the way of moving you forward to open up to what's to come. And I cannot tell you how many conversations I have had that start off with someone emailing me or calling me and saying, I've never talked to anyone else about this before, but because I shared such an internal journey, they feel that they have a safe place with me and can then share their stories. So I am hearing from women, like one woman was telling me she really resonated with parts of it because when she had her children, she said she recalled she showed up at her daughter's first day of preschool and she was the only mother there. Everybody else was nannies. They were living in this very wealthy community. And she, for years, felt so ostracized by these other mothers. And she said it was really awful and she'd never really dealt with it. She just kind of powered through. And I heard from another woman recently who is going through a very difficult, painful divorce. And it resonated with her because she's been feeling self-isolated and like she's the only person who has these feelings. And yet she identified with some of the feelings that I went through in my own journey. Completely different journey, different outcomes. And yet the emotions resonate. And it's helping, from what I'm hearing, which I love, them explore their own feelings about what's happening to them. And like we were talking about before the break, of that we all have the opportunity to choose how we feel about something and how we respond to something and how we move forward from it. And that choice is what it all comes down to, that personal choice every morning. Am I going to get out of bed? Yes. Okay. There's your first great choice, right? And not to say that some days it's just right to stay in bed and wallow for a little bit, because sometimes you have to work through that too. And that's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing from, I'll have to tell you one other story. I did a reading about a month ago, and it was all women, but the husband of one woman was kind of there in the background, her host, and he came to me afterwards and he said, I wasn't going to stick around, but I just figured I kind of got hooked in hearing what you're saying. He said, I have 2 daughters in their 30s, and you've made me rethink how I'm going to support their choices. And wow.
Yeah.
Right. And I thought, okay, there we go. That was worth everything. and I love that. I love that he, who is completely not the audience I imagined for my work, but that he got something really positive out of it. And his life has changed and his daughter's lives are changed. Oh, love it.
Right there. Legacy of love, my friend.
Yep.
It creates a ripple, right? So
absolutely.
Now he's going to show up different in the relationship with his daughters. They're going to show up different in the relationship with themselves. And if they choose to have children, the relationship with the children. So that's what I mean about what we were talking about earlier, about leaving a legacy of love.
Yeah.
And I believe, it's funny because I know you talk about storytelling too. my publishing company, we use the authentic storytelling. It's one of our trademarks for our anthology division. I've published 18 books, 250 women. And
Congratulations.
I tell the woman, Kathleen, I say, listen, when you are authentic and vulnerable and sharing your truth in a sacred container with the vision and the intent of doing so to inspire, empower, and support other women on their journey, it creates a ripple effect. And so what I'm hearing with your story in your book is these women are resonating because even though their story is different, the level and depth of what you shared from an emotional and truth-telling resonated with their soul.
Yep.
Because so many women don't have a place to process those, or they keep it within thinking they're the only person that ever feels that way. And then all of a sudden they read your book and they're like, oh, she gets me.
Yeah.
Isn't
Yeah.
that such a sacred gift?
And it creates this safe place. I'll tell you, I had an experience. This was before the book even came out. It was a few years before, but I was at a networking event and this woman was asking me, what am I writing about? And I was telling her the story, and she jumped in with what those of us in the childless community know to be just the worst responses of, well, why don't you just adopt? And why don't you just hire a surrogate? And why don't you just, and it was like, oh, that's not, those aren't the solutions. Those aren't helpful. And of course I considered all those for myself, but they weren't the right path for me. And she kept trying to fix me. Right. And I thought, all right, I don't think this is a teaching opportunity. I just need to move on. And I excused myself graciously, and, and a much younger woman approached me and she said, I'm sorry, I was listening in your conversation and I didn't mean to pry, but she said, but this is my story. And she proceeded to tell me that she had just had, I think it was a second miscarriage, and was really, really struggling, had not even told her family. I mean, her husband obviously knew, but her extended family didn't even, I don't think they knew she'd been pregnant. And she proceeded to pour out her heart to me. And I was so grateful that that opportunity was given to me to just hold her in a place of love and support her, and let her know that whatever was coming next, whether she went on to have children or if she didn't, that there were places where she could go and women who would understand and could hear her story and could see her. And that's what stuff like this does. You share your story, you make yourself vulnerable. In the process, of course, I'm healing myself, but then it creates this larger space where others are able to see an opportunity to begin their healing journeys. And that's the stuff that gets me just crazy excited about the potential for this.
And the message is so, so needed. And one of the things that you write toward the end of the book, and it says, I came to believe you were not alone. You said it's the fourth of the sweetest words that you've heard.
Yeah.
So why did those words come to you?
This goes back to, as I was progressively working on the book, I was invited to start writing a column for a website called Life Without Baby. A friend of mine, the brilliant Lisa Manterfield, who was doing her own processing. Hers was a story of childlessness due to infertility. And she was starting to blog her experience and her understanding, working on her own books, and invited me to share some of my journey. And I started doing it. And honestly, Linda, when we started writing that blog, my expectation is we were writing for an audience of 2, that Lisa and I would be the only people who would ever read this. And suddenly we had people commenting and saying, oh, I'm so glad I found you and I needed this. And we heard at one point we had readers in over 100 countries. I mean, who knew? Here we thought, like you said earlier, we have this feeling that I am the only person in the world who's dealing with this. And then you find out, no, there are all these other women in their own living rooms dealing with this. And not only did we get I get these comments that would just affirm what I was feeling and what I was experiencing. So I didn't feel so alone in that. But then when they would offer encouragement and then start sharing their own stories, just like the cycle we talked about before. And then we started discovering there were women in other countries who were doing blogs and books. Jodi Day in the United Kingdom is sort of the godmother in the childless community. Pamela Mahoney Sigdinos wrote a brilliant book called Silent Sorority about her journey with infertility treatments. And we started to connect. And I have since gone on and met several of these women, and we're still really connected on the internet and supporting each other's work. Again, everybody's got a different story, a different journey, and yet the commonality is that we're all here to support each other and women and learn from each other's experiences. And just knowing that I am not the odd childless woman on the sidelines, it's such a relief.
That's like you found your sacred community. You found your tribe. You found a place where there's just a connection and a feeling of acceptance and non-questioning.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I make the point in the book is I talked to one woman called me up and said, she was childless by choice. She never, ever wanted kids. It just wasn't what she wanted, which I applaud. I think that I kind of wish sometimes that it'd been easier for me. Not that it's all easy, but she said, for so much of her adulthood, she was treated with this regard of like, well, of course you're going to want children and you should do this, all the shoulds, right? And people literally saying to her, well, what's wrong with you? And she just felt so isolated and so otherhood is a word that gets tossed around a lot. And finally, she kind of came to terms with it, was like, you know what, darn it, it isn't just me. And that was another thing she got from my book. It's that she isn't the only person feeling like this. And you know what, we're not odd. We're all beautifully unique. And that's what I want. I want us all women to be looking at each other, and there's not the us and the them and the moms and the non-moms and the this and who cares? How about if we just love all of womankind and support that we're all doing the best we can with what we're given?
Such a powerful way to end this segment. In such a powerful statement, just of love and acceptance of wherever a woman is on her journey. It's not our place to judge. We're going to take our final break. We'll be back for the last segment. Stay with us. You can learn more about Kathleen's work at Kathleen-Inc.com. We'll be right back.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Does the energy in your life or home feel stuck or stagnant? Your home surroundings may be impacting your mood, energy level, and even how much money you attract. It's time to clear the energy blocks in your immediate surroundings so you can attract enhanced health, happiness, and abundance. Carrie Miller, Feng Shui expert, speaker, and coach, and the author of Feels Better, Flows Better, Feng Shui for Inspired Living, merges her sacred skills in Feng Shui, space clearing, aromatherapy, and coaching to support her clients in making subtle changes to their home that allow energy to flow and create spaces that are comfortable, functional, supportive, and inspiring. Whether you're called to clear one room or your full home, Carrie offers Feng Shui and energy clearing services on-site or virtually to meet your needs. Learn more at carriemillerconsulting.com.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Circle of Hearts Radio is a sanctuary on the airwaves. Join me, Grandmother Elia, in the circle on Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern as I share information to both enlighten and nourish your soul.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
This is OTR FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Welcome back, my friends. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. So, Kathleen, in the last segment, I want to talk about what you learned about how sharing our stories can help us all on our journeys toward healing and wholeness. I know you shared parts of that in an earlier segment we talked about storytelling and all that. About the healing and wholeness, was it something you discovered for yourself as you were writing the book? You know, because this book took you, 17 years?
Yes.
And you know what, I got to tell you, as a publisher, I had a woman that I published that she had the dream for 10 years. So believe me, you are not alone.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Oh, no, that's so common. So, you know, in our final segment, let's talk about your healing and wholeness through the process of writing. But now, as you just shared in these beautiful stories you just shared, it's now providing healing and wholeness with women.
Yeah.
So dive in there. Like, one, why did it take you 17 years? What was the inner journey like?
Yeah. Well, as I mentioned earlier, I did not set out to write a book. I set out to answer my own questions, to figure out my own dilemmas. And so I had to live it. I had to live this story first, and then I wrote it. And also, as I mentioned earlier, I lived the internship experience I thought that was going to be the end. I thought I was going to have this clever, funny little book. And at the end, I was going to decide to have a baby on my own, and that was going to be it. And it didn't turn out that way, because a brilliant editor by the name of Cheryl Woodruff said, I think you have something to say. I think you have an opportunity to explore the deeper meanings here. And that's where the memoir with a message came from. And I spent several years researching, why do I have these expectations? Why do I feel this way, that this is the way my life should be? And what do I really want out of life? Okay, then I took all that material and said, okay, what does this book need to say? What fits in this book? So that was, and there were things that happened in there. I met my now husband in there and got married and headed off on that path. And I moved halfway across my state and started a new life in a city that was totally new to me. And all these other, life happens. And 17 years go by until this book was ready to go out in the world. And it let me know when it was ready. That's what it was. And not that there weren't times in there that I didn't want to just, give up and throw the whole thing in the shredder. That happened. Fortunately, I kept going. And the healing came from, writing, journaling, letter writing, whatever you do. At least for me, this is where I process things. I ask questions, I answer questions, I consider, I feel. All that for me happens on the page. So all that processing was happening, and in the journey, it was deciding what was authentic to me, and then embracing that, whatever it looked like, and embracing not just who I am today, but also being open to embracing to whatever is coming. And that there's a tremendous freedom in that. You know that, Linda,
Yeah, I definitely know that.
Yeah. And just grateful that I had this experience. Wasn't easy, but I'm grateful I had it, because it brought me to where I am today. And it allowed me to share this book with the world, which I'm very excited about that, and help other people with their healing journeys. And then, okay, universe, what next? Let's go. This is exciting. Who knows?
And isn't it funny though that when you come into alignment with something, everything comes together to bring it to life. It's that moment when you come into complete clarity and alignment. It's almost like the divine is up there going, yay, she's there. Now I can do my part and send all the support team around it. It has happened numerous times in my life.
Yeah, me too.
I just find it so magical. With everything he went through, it was the exact perfect team, surgical team was given. There was so many magical synchronicities. And I believe, I heard you use the term, you get soul bumps.
Goosebumps? Soul bumps, you call them? Cool. I love that. I'm going to have to change that.
I call them I call them soul bumps, but I use a hashtag a lot on social media called hashtag soul giggles. It's like this, that's like this energy that goes through me going, oh yeah, this is it. Decision done, next step, like it's a knowing. But you had mentioned something that you were getting goosebumps. I call them soul bumps because it's a message from the divine or your own truth.
Yes.
It's a knowing. And to me, it's when we make that aligned choice, like the book was not meant to be released any time before it was actually released. That's what
divine timing. It was always divine timing.
Like I in my private work with clients, I work with therapists, authors, life coaches, spiritual coaches, and I tell them, you're exactly where you are meant to be at this moment in time. So you can do the deep work to heal whatever stories are coming up that are keeping you from being seen, being visible, to bringing their message out, right? Because I'm a sacred visibility catalyst, and as well as an intentional living guide. And one of the things I tell them is start to trust your knowings. Start to trust that you will be divinely supported, but when you're wishy-washy about something, whether it's a decision, writing a book, the universe is up there going, tapping its finger going, well, when did she ever make up her mind? Like, that's how I envision things. And now I go, I go right into clarity and knowings. And I notice that when I do that, instead of being wishy-washy about my desires, the divine sends the support you need to do it. And that's what I feel about your book. So though you may think, we have a few minutes left, you may think that it took 17 years. It really didn't. It was divine timing for you to get to that place so that the divine could support you. So in the last moment, is there any message you would like to leave our listeners with, along with all the amazing wisdom you already shared?
Oh, thank you.
You feel led to share something else?
I was thinking about towards the end of the book process, is I sat down and made a list of affirmations for this project, what I wanted. And one of them, I'm going to paraphrase this now, but it's so much what we're talking about, is that I envision I have this divine team that's working behind the scenes, if you will. And one of the things that I reminded myself that I will share with you and the listeners is that the universe and my team are doing their work. Let them, while I do just mine. And that just reminding me that I don't have to do it all, and that there was this team finding the right copy editor and the right proofreader and all these things. I trusted so completely that all these components would be presented to me at just the right time, and it happened. And then I talked to you today. The timing of this is so brilliant, and you have given me so much to think about and celebrate, and this is just perfect. And let's just allow it to happen. Get out of the way and let it happen.
Yes. And when I heard your affirmation, I immediately had heard and received the message of stop trying to micromanage the divine.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yes.
And I'm a recovering control freak, so believe me, I've had 2-year-old temper tantrums with the divine, stomping my foot going, but I want it now, and I want it to look this way, and I want this.
There's so much to that of trying to tell the universe, the divine, this is what I want. And the universe says, but I have all this much more that I want to give you. Stop trying to define it. Just open. So that's it. That's my final.
That's your
thought.
final.
Open.
Yes, powerful message. And Kathleen, I want to thank you for being here with me today. I want to invite everyone to visit Kathleen at Kathleen-Inc.com. And of course, pick up a copy of her book, The Mother of All Dilemmas. Kathleen, thank you again, my friend.
Thank you, Linda. What a pleasure. Have a beautiful day.
Until next time, everyone, choose love, choose joy, choose happiness, my friends.
Thanks for listening to Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. Join our sacred space every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern and meet leading female visionaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy is a soulful venue where guests share the obstacles they've overcome, along with wisdom and lessons learned on their personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic and soulful living.